It should be considered criminal at this point. It's the same thing year after year, no matter the function. I don't know if it's fear of change, lack of creativity, or you're okay settling for okay. No matter what your current sausage ball recipe is, we're about to put that junk on lockdown. The goal of this channel is to challenge you in how you think about, prepare, and serve food, and maybe sometimes give you a little cultural lesson. Just like in my first video where I introduced you to the French phrase mise en place, I want to take this time to introduce you to a Spanish word, reglas. 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 I can't roll my R's properly. And with me being from the southeastern United States, I add my southern accent to it and it comes out as reglas. And this word can be translated into the English language to mean rules. And the link that I provided in the description below will show you that since the 1960s, not much has changed in the innovation of sausage balls. So with all the culinary information available to us in the world, why are you still serving reglas sausage balls? So before we get into this very lengthy video, I want to let you know that all the recipes are posted in the description below. Quick question. You ever been to somebody's house and thought, man, we really should have went to the Mexican restaurant before coming here? Then this recipe is for you people. So what actually makes this a Spanish recipe? Well, instead of using 100% breakfast sausage, we're going to split that up in half and do half breakfast sausage and half chorizo. And pay attention to what I'm doing in the video as well. Like right here, I only used half of the Bisquick that I'm going to use. Only used half of the cheeses that I'm going to use. But everything else, I dumped in 100% of the ingredients. Not because it really makes a difference in the recipe, but clean up. You don't want flour flying everywhere. And after a minute, when everything's starting to combine nicely, go ahead and dump in the rest of your Bisquick and the remaining cheeses. And speaking of cheeses, notice how we're not using extra sharp cheddar cheese or any variation of cheddar cheese. This is a Spanish recipe. This one, we're using cotija and Monterey Jack. And what we're gonna do here is we're gonna run this for about another minute until everything's combined to our liking. Not everything's gonna be 100% combined, but it's going to be a lot easier to work with when we roll it out onto our dough mat. There's still going to be some mixing that needs to be done by hand, but if you're using a stand mixer, the hard work's already done. And if you don't have a stand mixer, don't worry, I got you. Just take the ingredients and apply them to the mat the same way that I did the bowl. And it really doesn't matter what working order you do it, I would just be careful not putting all the Bisquick and all the cheese down at one time. That stuff's gonna fly everywhere. And no matter whether you use the stand mixer or the mat, once you get to this point in the process, the only thing that you need to focus on is combining everything by folding over and continuing to press down to integrate. And if you don't do it already, make it a habit of cleaning as you go. It makes the end process so much easier. Once you start getting into a roll of parchment paper, kind of wants to keep it shaped, no matter how you try to manipulate it. But just remember, we're not painting a Mona Lisa. It's just cooking. One of the best pieces of kitchen gadgetry that you can buy. Tell Santa Claus, your mama, somebody. And we're looking for ounces here from a weight perspective, so the display will probably say pounds and ounces. Of course, depending on what brand and model you have. This recipe yields about 35. And I think they look beautiful. Seriously, don't put any more. I actually went through the process of eating these 3. My ankles look like my socks, if you know what I'm saying. One of the things that's unique about this recipe we're about to make is the tools we're using. Also, the amount of Bisquick that we're starting off with because we're adding a half a cup of Italian breadcrumbs. The filler that I'm choosing to use is olive antipasto. If you like a giardiniera, you can use that, but this is what it looks like when I go to Walmart's. And since these sausage balls are Italian style, of course we're using Italian sausage. 3 sweet, 2 hot. Doesn't matter. No rules. And for your cheese, always buy the block cheese and shred it if it's available, especially for like the mozzarella in this video. The Parmigiano Reggiano, don't skimp. Get the good stuff. Now we're going to take our very sharp and very pointy knife and remove the sausage from the casing so we can start mixing all the ingredients together. And this song is about to drive me nuts, so we're going to swap it up right now. One thing that you'll notice when removing these casings is how nothing really sticks to you. And if that's the case, when we start putting all these other ingredients like the Bisquick, the breadcrumbs, and the cheese, it may not combine too well. And once the last little bit of sausage is in your mixing bowl, let's start adding the ingredients. We're going to go all in with a half cup of diced Italian olive antipasto, the half cup of Italian breadcrumbs, and half of the shredded mozzarella cheese. All right, let's see what this looks like. If you notice, I kind of focus on mixing the sausage first and some other ingredients before combining the Bisquick because I knew that we would have problems getting this to combine because of the decrease in fat content. And a lot of recipes will tell you can add milk, you can add eggs, you can add oil, you can add mayonnaise, which is a combination of oil and eggs. But I wanted to use friction and all the moisture that was already in the ingredients that I'm currently using. And a lot of recipes say that you can use cream cheese, but cream cheese is probably going to be in over 75% of the things that this function that we're making these sausage balls for anyway. So we can leave that out. We love our cream cheese here in America. Now, as you can see, this is like clay, sand, something or another. Oh well, let's get it. After a little while, you'll have this beautiful loaf. Same thing as the first recipe. Clean up, parchment paper, scale, weigh, repeat. And we're not going to add any external seasoning to these, so once you get these rolled out into the oven, 350 degrees for 16 to 18 minutes, just like the first recipe. And once they're done, this is what you get. And if anything, I'm really looking to get some comments on this recipe right here because we're using boudin. This recipe has in no way ever probably been on the bayou, but we're bringing the bayou to this channel. And with the boudin, it's the same as it was with the Italian sausage. Get your sharp pointy knife, slice the casing, and remove the casing. And the bad thing about this recipe is boudin has only around 6% fat content. So it has the least amount of fat content out of all the 4 sausages that we've used here today, which is going to make the mixing process painful. Bone dry. I mean, it really doesn't matter. Just go ahead and throw everything in there and oh my goodness. All right, let's not freak out. We're going to keep it a buck. Me and you, once again, let's get it. I feel if Sylvester Stallone's character from Over the Top, Lincoln Hawk, would have made this recipe instead of doing all those silly arm wrestling technique exercises, he probably would have went undefeated. Man, those are pretty. And I'm not going to say anything in regards to seasoning. Just be safe. And 16 to 18 minutes at 350 gets you these. Salute. So let's recap everything we just did. We created 3 different recipes, which represents 3 different types of sausage from 3 different countries. One with some Spanish flair, one with an Italian vibe, and one from the good old US of A. Each one of these recipes has their own unique flavor and also their own unique degree of difficulty. You saw how the ingredients in the Spanish recipe came together a lot easier than the Italian and the one from the United States. The degree of difficulty in the video is how they were shot, starting with the easiest, the medium, and the most difficult. My favorite, in an overall taste ranking, I've got to give the edge to the Spanish. It's a great sausage ball standalone. Be careful if you do add tahini or some other type of seasoning on the outside, as a little bit of seasoning on the outside in its raw form will go a long way. Long way. Pay attention to how much was in the video. Just a shake or two is fine. My second favorite, I've got to go with the ones from the United States. The boudin is really different. The onion, the bell pepper, the celery, a little bit of Cajun seasoning on the outside, it's really good. And then third place has got to be the Italian. Now, I love Italian cuisine. The simplicity of it is what makes it so great. But in a sausage ball, they're already pretty simple as it is. But in my opinion, they can all be phenomenal because of the dipping sauces. What dipping sauce pairs best with this? What dipping sauce pairs best with this? What dipping sauce pairs best with this? No reglas. No reglas. No reglas. No reglas. At the end of the function, it really doesn't matter what type of sausage ball you bring. If you choose to make one or all 3, do it with the intent to learn something. Do it with the intent to serve someone, and do it with the intent to love your neighbor. I'm out.